another weekend, lots to talk about. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Monday, May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo to those who celebrate. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Stowers. Today on the show, a bunch of injuries. We've got waiver wire ads and drops, 6 confusing pitchers, and a bunch more. Let's jump in.
You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
It's not often I can play a White Sox sound drop, but Luis Robert's going to be my player of the night. We'll get to him in just a little bit. Scott, we'll start off with you. Kyle Stowers.
Oh, me.
Your player of the weekend.
Yeah, Kyle Stowers. Dramatic. So he had the 4-hit, 2-homer game. I believe it was Wednesday that first kind of got everybody talking. And then over the weekend here on Saturday, a dramatic walk-off grand slam on another day where he hit 2 home runs, by the way. And I think when we talked about him last week, I was a little dismissive. The strikeout rate was high. The exit velocities were kind of meh. But, you know, the hot hitting continues. Those exit velocities go up. Suddenly his you look at his StatCast page, Kyle Stowers. It's not quite like Urkel's report card, but I don't know. It's like who's like a famous A's and B's student. Like I don't know.
Wasn't Zach from Saved by the Bell?
I actually
a
Googled
pretty
him.
Good student.
He
got a great one, but he was like a pretty good one.
No, he got bad grades. He got a good score on his SAT, and that got him into Yale.
We call that a Chris Towers, except I did not get into Yale, folks.
I think it was, I think there was probably more competition when you're going
FIU is the Yale of Sweetwater, Florida.
I have always said so. Anyway, Kyle Stowers, a lot of 80s and 90s. The exit velocities are looking better. The max exit velocity is still middling to high, but it's looking better is the point. It's getting easier to see that maybe there could be some legitimacy to this guy who, by the way, always put up good numbers in the minors in the Orioles organization, Kyle Stowers. He's playing pretty much every day, sits against tougher lefties, actually has ridiculous numbers in the time he has played against lefties, much better than righties. So he probably should be playing every day. The biggest issue I can see there for Kyle Stowers is his zone contact rate is just 74%. That would be the third lowest among qualifiers. And that's not like a total deal breaker. If you sort by lowest zone contact rate in baseball, you'll see a lot of good hitters in there.
Rafael Devers is always really high in that. I think Kyle Schwarber.
Medelson, I think, is usually in recent years. Mike Trout has been low in that. Yeah. So it can be a deal breaker for hitters, but it's not like definitively a deal breaker for hitters. And long story short, Kyle Stowers has now performed to the point that even if you have some baseline skepticism, and you should have some baseline skepticism, but you have to take the flyer on him at this point. Yeah. In leagues of any real size. He's still out there in half of CBS Sports leagues. I was looking in some of my leagues. He's out there in a few of those. That should not continue beyond today, beyond the start of a new scoring period. I moved him up to number 2 in my sleeper hitters for the upcoming scoring period. So I think you need to take a shot on Kyle Stowers, see where it goes. No guarantees. I'm not the biggest Kyle Stowers backer around, but he's kind of forced our hand at this point.
I agree with all that. I do think it's just a hot streak. Yeah. StatCast has like a rolling 50 plate appearances xWOBA chart on player pages. And at the end of play on April 27th, his previous 50 plate appearances, Kyle Stowers had a 309 xWOBA, which is about league average. And his most recent 50 plate appearances, it's 466.
Yeah.
So that tells me that it's just a case of him. Like it's not that he's just been locked in from day one. I think it's a couple of hot weeks, and we'll probably be talking about dropping him in the next couple of weeks. But I agree with everything you're saying, right? Like good minor league track record, a little bit of prospect pedigree. he's been so good that I think you do kind of just have to add him and see.
And it is backed up by the expected stats. I mean, for what it's worth.
Well, now it is
313 XBA, 564 X slug. Those are awesome numbers. So, I don't know if they will remain, but they are awesome right now.
To Chris's point, I sort of made it too, is, go back a week and it wasn't so much that way. It's especially loud production recently, but to kind of unspool this further, whether you're talking about half the season to this point or all of the season to this point, 10% of the season as a whole or 20% of the season as a whole, it's a small sample that doesn't that isn't indefinite in its meaning.
The most added outfielder on CBS right now is Andy Pages. Who would you guys rather have, Pages or Kyle Stowers?
I'm actually fine with it being Stowers, actually. I think there's
Pages just because the lineup context, but it's very close.
I think there's a much better chance Pages finds himself out of a job in the next month than Stowers.
Yeah, but it didn't happen. It felt like it really could have happened over the first 3 weeks. And
I do wonder now. I know Hyun Kim got called up for Tommy Edman. I do wonder if Kim hits like he did at AAA, if that might change things.
All right, I guess I'll break the tie. I lean with Stowers, but I do like both names quite a bit. Chris, let's go over to you for your player of the weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about Garrett Crochet, who's just hasn't been the same guy. And every time he starts, there are quotes, and I haven't really brought it up yet, but every time he starts, there's just like quotes where he's like, yeah, I haven't felt right, or my mechanics aren't there. The quote after this one, where he wasn't terrible, because he hasn't been terrible, and he's not terrible. It was 1 earned run, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. It's a perfectly fine start, and he's been perfectly fine so far. But the quote was, just the way that I'm working down the slope, I feel like there are times when I'm kind of just letting my body weight take me down the slope instead of driving down the mountain right now. It's like I'm able to recognize these things during the start, but I'm not going to try and correct anything during a start on the field. Once I'm on the mound, I'm doing what I can with what I have that day. And he had a quote like 4 starts ago, I think, where he said, like, yeah, my stuff hasn't been there and my mechanics have been a little bit off. And you see it, right? Like his strikeout rate is down 6.6 percentage points. His walk rate is nearly double what it was last season. His ERA his velocity was way down in this one. And he hasn't quite been where he was last season. I think even entering this start, he was down about 1.5 miles per hour from last season. So I'm not necessarily saying there's something wrong. And I'm certainly not saying like, oh, it's time to panic about Garrett Crochet, right? Like that would be a silly thing to do about a guy who, even if you don't buy the 2.04 ERA, the 3.47 xERA, perfectly fine. You can live with that. It just feels a little ominous at the start of his first long season ever. I just don't know how this is going to, like his first full season ever. I just don't know how this is going to go the rest of the way. And I'm inclined to view Crochet as a sell high candidate based on the way his season has gone so far.
I guess the problem with calling him a sell high is how many pitchers do you trust to be better than him? Like for as long standing as this mechanical issue has been, let's say it's plagued him the whole year. He's had trouble driving on the mound, driving off when he delivers.
And his extension, by the way, has been like half a foot down early going.
He's still been one of the best pitchers in fantasy.
Yes.
He's lost a lot of strikeout rate. He still has one of the best strikeout rates among starting pitchers. So it's a lot of high-end pitchers have already been lost to injury. Maybe not for the whole season, but for long enough that we can't really be sure when they're coming back. And you got Crochet, who's one of those drafted as an ace and basically performing like an ace, even if it's been a little.
Oh, he's definitely performing like an ace. To be clear, like 2.04 ERA, like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of encouraged that he clearly seems to be fighting something mechanically. and he's still been this good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, like I think your point about who, like, he's my number 6 SP, and I don't feel that confident about 2 of the guys in front of him, at least Cole Reagans and Chris Sale. So like and then I look at the guys below him, and I don't feel particularly confident in them either. So no, I think it's a good point about where he is relative to the rest of the position, and I don't know if there are more than 5 pitchers I would rather have. I need to just move Hunter Greene ahead of him. I think I need to stop dragging my feet and just embrace the injury risk, because on a skills basis, Hunter Greene looks like the best pitcher in baseball right now.
So you
are full stop.
You would be more concerned about something causing Crochet's numbers to collapse than something causing Greene's numbers to collapse.
I think the injury risk is fairly similar for both of them. And I think the way Hunter Greene is pitching right now is more sustainable than the way Garrett Crochet is pitching right now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, it could just be that Crochet just needs to do one bullpen session and look at some high-speed video and boom, he's back.
That's
on the other hand, we have a 2.5-month track record of Garrett Crochet being a high-level pitcher. In fairness,
we don't have that much more.
We don't have a much longer version. Yeah, like the version of Hunter Greene pitching like one of the best pitchers in baseball is basically just right now. Because I don't think I guess the last like 10 or 11 starts of last season is when it started, but like his strikeout rate was down last season, walk rate was up. This is the first time that Hunter Greene feels like the only risk is health, the way he's pitching right now. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's sustainable, but it's just he's pitching on a different level than we've ever seen from him.
Looking up and down the pitching rankings, I mean, you guys make great points. I don't know what you would trade Crochet for if you were looking to trade him for, like, quote unquote safer pitchers. Logan Webb, an innings eater, who looks like he's taken a step forward this year. Max Fried, has had some arm troubles, but looks like he's taken a step forward this year. He's been awesome. Hunter Brown, another one that looks like he's taking a step forward this year. But I think it would have to be one of those players.
You need something plus.
Yeah, like it would have to be a top 24 outfielder or like top 50 hitter in addition to those players.
I don't think Max Fried has actually taken a step forward this year. I think he's the
same guy he's always been.
Yeah.
But he was undervalued coming into the season.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I think I was higher on him than the consensus, and I think all of us were. But like he's like something's going to happen at some point. I don't know. It's kind of maybe it'll be a theme for this podcast for me, but just kind of the baseball commentary right now, kind of presuming everybody is who they've presented themselves to be to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always some degree of that every year. We have there's like this collective amnesia that we don't recognize that it takes 162 games to sort out baseball stats. But I don't know. It just seems especially pronounced. And I don't know if it's because there are a lot more ways to analyze, especially pitchers right now. And so people are kind of just looking to show off the ways they can analyze it. But that's kind of causing people to draw firmer conclusions than they should over what's still a very small sample. I mean, there's a reason we throw out the 2020 season because it was only 60 games and not enough time to really sort things out. Well, we're not even close to 60 games yet.
All right, well, I'm going to mention my player of the night very quickly here. Luis Robert, talked about him up top a little bit, but he continued his hot stretch into this weekend. He homered on Friday. He had 2 more steals on Sunday, and over his last 8 games, 345 batting average, 3 homers, 8 runs, 9 RBI, 8 steals, 97.4 average exit velocity. So he is coming alive. The overall line, still not great. I mean, it's a 195 batting average, a 667 OPS, but the 313 on base looks very good. 5 homers, running wild right now. 15 steals, leads baseball. So Luis Robert looks like, the weather's starting to heat up, and so is he.
He's been caught 5 times already.
He's just
that might be the crazier stat. Like, you've been caught 5 times, and they're just going to keep letting you run. That's great. You love to see that.
It's the White Sox, right? It's like, who's going to tell them no? Like,
That's fair. That's fair.
Why not? So hopefully, we're past that cold stretch to start the season, keeps this going, needs to stay healthy, obviously, too. And hopefully someone comes knocking, a much better team that, look, there are a bunch of teams in baseball that can use a Luis Robert right now. So hopefully we do see him on the move at some point this season.
I'll point out for Robert, he's already hit 2 balls harder this year than he did all of last year, which I take as a good sign in addition to all the base stealing he's been doing. So I think he's trending the right way.
It is worth mentioning, and I know we wanted to move on fairly quickly, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like for all the talk of like, oh, Luis Robert just wasn't motivated, and like, well, maybe, I don't know, that he's a human being. He also did miss 2 months with a hip injury last year. Like right at the start of the season, we didn't see him. Basically, he played 6 or 7 games before the injury, so that's worth keeping in mind as well. That maybe he just wasn't healthy last year, which it's Luis Robert. That'll happen.
Let's take our first break, and before we do that, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's take that break, and we'll be back right after this.
For a Sunday showdown on CBS and streaming live on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Wanted to quickly mention a few other players of the weekend. Just huge performances. Get this out of the way. Crow-Armstrong might just be a stud. 2 for 5, double dong on Friday, add another home run on Saturday. He is now batting .272, 9 homers, 26 runs, 26 RBI, 12 steals. He entered Sunday as the 3rd best player in Roto, 4th best hitter in head-to-head points leagues. And I know we're getting crap. We all wrote him up as a bust this season. Like, we're not going to get everything right. It's a long season. But he has been a stud so far. Like, he is a top 5 player regardless of form.
Yeah. Well, he has been so far. Yeah.
So far. He has been amazing. Like, there's no doubting that. So.
But what did I just get through saying? Like, it's
a long season.
Yeah, nothing's definitive yet. He had a great August last year too, and he could be a stud. Like I spent some time this weekend thinking about what I want to say about Crow-Armstrong, and ultimately I decided nothing. I don't want to say anything because I feel like there's no benefit to me saying anything at this point. Nobody's going to do it. Like I could say Crow-Armstrong, I've seen the future. A week from now, he's going to turn into a pterodactyl, fly away, never be seen again. And people would still be like, yeah, right, I'm not trading him. So that there's nothing I could say. So there's no point. I've given my take on him. It was as nuanced as I know how to be. And I think we just got to let it play out.
I will just say, his swing decisions remain really, really bad relative to how we typically judge swing decisions. Maybe this is an outlier type talent who can feast off of, like, he's hit like 3 home runs already that were below the strike zone. Like, he's been a bad ball hitter so far. And look, if you can do that, then I suppose it doesn't matter that you have the 2nd or 3rd highest chase rate in baseball and that it has gotten worse since last season. I tend to think that at some point that will catch up to him and he's not going to be an elite power hitter. But I don't know, like, we look really dumb right now. So I don't know if anybody's going to listen to that anyway.
Yeah. I just think for transparency's sake, people kind of just want to hear us say that we've been wrong about Crow-Armstrong. And so we're telling you, we have been wrong about Crow-Armstrong so far this season. Riley Greene also wanted to mention he made history on Friday night. He became the first player ever to homer twice in the 9th inning. And all of a sudden, he is batting .273 with 8 home runs and an elite 811 OPS, which is pretty much what we were expecting from Riley Greene. And a reminder that we're a month into the season and that you should have patience, because I think a lot of people, in shallower leagues probably dropped Riley Greene, and now he kind of just looks like the player we expected him to be. So.
I agree with everything you're saying. Have patience with everyone except Crow-Armstrong. What he has done so far is what he will do forever.
Yes, exactly. There you go. The dichotomy between the two. News and notes. Lots of injuries this weekend and a devastating injury to Tristan Casas, who had a nasty spill at first base while trying to beat out a ground ball. Turns out he has a ruptured left patellar tendon that he has already had surgery on, apparently, which basically rules him out for the season. Not only that, I mean, could very well affect his career. I mean, this is a very tough injury to recover from. So obviously, thoughts go out to Tristan Casas, young player. Still want to see him succeed at some point in his career. If we are looking for first base replacements, obviously there has been no shortage this season. A lot of them have already been scooped up, but in shallower leagues, still some names out there. Jonathan Aranda, 72%. Kyle Manzardo, 63%. Rhys Hoskins, 58%. Nate Lowe, also 58%. How would you rank those four? Aranda, Manzardo, Hoskins, Nate Lowe.
Aranda, Manzardo, Hoskins, and Nate Lowe.
I think that's probably the order I'd go as well.
Fair enough.
That's why you listed them that way, isn't it, Frank? You were trying to be economical, weren't you, Frank?
Roster rate.
I just listed them in roster rate. That's basically it. Slightly deeper leagues, if you need a corner infielder in, let's say, a 12-team roto league. Ryan O'Hearn, Nolan Shanuel, Ryan Mountcastle. Not nearly as exciting.
I still have some hope for Ryan Mountcastle.
Yeah, the data looks great on Mountcastle. I think people need to stick with him.
Yeah, that would probably be my preference. Although I will say, if Kobe Mayo gets hot, he did get called up. He sat, I think, one of the first 3 games, including against lefty, which isn't great. But if he gets hot, there could be some playing time risk there. Just because I think at this point, the Orioles just gotta play whoever gets hot, right? Like they don't have time to mess around with but his defense isn't great. Just if he gets hot and Ryan Mountcastle doesn't, I think there's a chance they just play Kobe Mayo ahead of Ryan Mountcastle.
But you're already on the record as supporting hot Mayo.
Yes.
Especially when spread over turkeys, right?
I just want the recipe was in the New York Times. My guy, Kenji Lopez, is the best in the game, and he recommended it. So
this is now 2 weeks in a row we're organically bringing up
you guys. You
slathering your turkey.
I think you guys are the weird ones for not trying it. It came out great. But that's all I will say is I think there is some risk that, there's risk that it happens to Ryan O'Hearn. It's just that,
O'Hearn's been playing well.
He's been playing well. He's got his skill set.
I would just hope the Orioles are smart enough. You're right. If Mayo gets hot, then they're going to have to find a place to play him. But my gosh, 99th percentile max exit velocity for Mountcastle, 79th percentile average exit velocity. Strikeout rate's a little high, but the expected stats are much better than the actual stats. And I think we're going to see some. I don't even think, as long as he keeps doing that with the exit velocities, I know that the actual numbers will catch up to the expected ones, if not surpass them.
All right, I got one thing, and then we can move on. Someone in the chat said people make grilled cheese by adding mayo on the outside when toasting. No thanks. That is the best way to make a grilled cheese because of mayo's high smoke point. It allows you to cook it at a higher temperature without burning the outside. That's all I'm going to say.
A little food science here.
This is a pro Mayo podcast, both Kobe and Hellman's.
I've told you guys before that my breakout as a writer in high school was on the writing prompt. If I could ban anything from the world, I would ban blank. And I said mayonnaise. They loved it.
Honestly,
Scott, that might be the take that I agree with you in your entire life.
I don't want, I say this with love. Grow up.
No.
Yeah.
So Tristan Casas replacements in the deepest of leagues: Gavin Sheets, Matt Mervis, Eric Wagaman, and Carlos Santana. As for the Red Sox, they started Romy Gonzalez at first base against a right-handed pitcher on Saturday and Sunday. But everybody's wondering if this will lead to Roman Anthony getting promoted. And I guess they could put Rafael Devers at first base. I guess they would have to teach him first base and then put him there.
It's incredibly hard.
Which opens up DH, but I mean, even then, it's like, are they going to DH Roman Anthony or Jarren Duran or Willie Abreu? Abreu won a Gold Glove last season, so I don't know if this is going to impact Roman Anthony getting called up.
Look, a butterfly flaps its wings in Kansas and causes a typhoon. Like maybe, but I think you need to squint really hard at a lot of moving pieces to make this a Roman Anthony piece of news, especially because he's been dealing with some nagging issues in AAA as well.
Yeah, I think it's a shoulder injury he's been dealing with. So,
and it was just a couple weeks ago, just because Casas was struggling, they firmly shot down the idea of Anthony moving to first base. And obviously that's probably partly because they had faith in Casas coming around, and now that's a moot point. But yeah, I still think that's honestly, it might be more likely Marcelo Meyer gets called up, because I could see them like playing Christian Campbell at first base before I could see them putting Devers there.
Any deep league interest in Romy Gonzalez?
Not really.
No, I mean AL only, but that's it.
All right. Jazz Chisholm was diagnosed with a high-grade right oblique strain and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, and he is a tough player to replace given a unique skill set and his position eligibility, second, third, and outfield. Scott's sleeper hitters this week that have that eligibility: Andy Pages, Kyle Stowers, TJ Friedl, Jonathan India, Max Muncy, and for those in deeper leagues, Trevor Larnach and Eli White. If you were looking for other long-term outfield replacements in shallower leagues, I wrote down Sal Frelick. Now he's dealing with a knee injury, so probably want to stay away there. Taylor Ward, Jorge Soler, Jordan Beck. If you need speed in particular, which a lot of people drafted Jazz for, obviously Victor Scott and Chandler Simpson, I think they're still, out there in like a quarter of CBS leagues and definitely Yahoo leagues. So if you do need speed in particular, Victor Scott and Simpson are just perfect replacements, I think.
I kind of think Jazz Chisholm's going to be out more than 4 to 6 weeks. That seems like a fairly optimistic timetable given how high grade the oblique strain is. I would be surprised if we saw him. Maybe surprised isn't the right word, but I'm kind of expecting to see him after the All-Star break.
The Yankees called up prospect Yorby Vivas on Friday, and Aaron Boone said he's going to get a lot of playing time. Any deep league interest in Vivas?
I didn't add him in my AL only league.
All right. I mean, he was doing some nice things at AAA this year, but all of his other minor league production has been pretty blah. So I think that's fair. Mike Trout was also placed in the IL Friday with a bone bruise in his left knee. Apparently, he isn't dealing with any structural damage. This is the same knee that he had surgery on twice last season, which casts some doubt. It's obviously Mike Trout, too, so that we have that aspect. He's just dealt with so many injuries. We mentioned some outfield replacements already, but Andy Pages, Kyle Stowers, obviously those are the names up top. If you are looking to replace Mike Trout, Jordan Alvarez has missed 2 straight with right hand inflammation. Manager Joe Espada said Sunday that Alvarez is feeling better and isn't expected to require any medical imaging. Starter sit Jordan Alvarez this week.
I'd start him.
Me too. And real quickly, I don't think Trout's going to be a long-term absence. I think it's going to be close to the minimum. But you never know with Mike Trout.
Cole Reagans is scheduled to start Monday against the White Sox, lining him up for 2 starts this week. He missed the start earlier, last week at this point with a groin strain. Do you start or sit Cole Reagans?
You start him.
Yeah,
lines up for 2.
2 starts, first against the White Sox? Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, they checked him out pretty thoroughly.
Corbin Burns will not make his scheduled start on Monday due to right shoulder inflammation. Apparently, Burns dealt with fatigue over his previous 2 starts. The hope is that he won't need a stint on the IL, and it will make his next scheduled start against the Dodgers on May 10th. This feels like a very clear do not start Corbin Burns this week, right?
Yeah. Oddly, there is a mild sense of, okay, well, maybe that explains it.
At least now we know why.
Yeah, I don't know that it's going to get much better, but we have a reason for why he is not getting whiffs and not throwing strikes. So explains it. And obviously the Dodgers. So yeah, I think stay away on Corbin Burns. George Kirby began a rehab assignment at AAA on Sunday. Sounds like he could be back at some point in May. Speaking of the Mariners, Jerry DiPoto said he's hopeful Logan Gilbert will return before the end of May. He is dealing with a grade 1 flexor strain. This timeline feels a little aggressive to me, but I'm not a doctor. What do I know?
There have been somebody had a flexor strain last year and only missed like a 2 or 3 weeks and ended up being fine. I'm completely blanking on who it was. It might have been Brian Wu.
I think Justin Steele dealt with the elbow thing late in the season.
His was tendinitis.
Tendinitis still, yeah.
There was someone at the end of last season who had, or early last season, that had a flexor strain, and it ended up being a relative non-issue. I'm going to try to find that. But yeah, like Ryan Weathers is currently coming back from one, and there's someone else as well. So it's very helpful.
Jackson Merrill.
Some players have been hurt before. You heard it here first. That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Jackson Merrill appears on track to return Monday against the Yankees. He's been out the past month with a hamstring injury. Do you guys start or sit Jackson Merrill this week?
Oh, if he's returning Monday, I think in most cases you'll want to activate him right away. That's a really high-end bat.
All right.
Yeah.
Nick Pivetta is who had a flexor strain. He ended up missing 4 weeks.
And that was last year, not this year. So
that was last year.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Nobody get concerned about Nick Pivetta. He's fine and he's pitching very well. You guys mentioned it already, but Kobe Mayo was called up from AAA. He's one of the Orioles' top prospects. 40% rostered on CBS. Were you guys looking to add Kobe Mayo in any leagues this weekend?
Yeah. I think, look, he's still continued to hit at AAA. This is one of those situations where the team seems to be losing faith in him, and that matters to me. But I also just don't really know what the Orioles are doing, so I don't know how much I care about them losing faith in him either. And I don't know if that's the smartest way to approach it, but I think he's clearly talented and has the ability to get hot and hit a bunch of homers really quickly.
What kind of format were you adding him in?
So, like, looking at some of my points leagues,
really,
like I've got one where I've got Eugenio Suarez as my third baseman. I've got Matt Olson as my first baseman. I've got Ozzie Albies in my utility spot with Michael Harris on the bench. Like, that's probably not even worth chasing, right? No. Like, it's really unlikely I would hit start. So it's probably context dependent, but I would say any any 12-team roto league where you're rostering 300 plus players, I have to imagine you have someone less interesting than Kobe Mayo, who has been a top 25 prospect for 3 years in a row now.
Yeah. Tommy Edman was placed in the IL with a right ankle injury retroactive to April 30th. He dealt with the same injury last season, eligible to return this Saturday because it was backdated. Not necessarily, he won't necessarily be back on that day, but he can return. The Dodgers promoted Hae-Sung Kim, 26 years old. He signed from the KBO this offseason, and in the minors, he was hitting .252, 5 home runs, 13 steals, 798 OPS, 17% rostered. Any deep league interest in Hae-Sung Kim?
Yeah, some deep league interest. I'm still not sure that the bat's going to play in the majors, and the playing time situation is unclear as well. I think he's a good base stealer. I didn't like that he was striking out so much, but the power production, not that the exit velocities were great, but the power production was a little better than I was expecting. So there's hope Hae-Sung Kim could turn into something.
I've seen some like excitement about his AAA production, and it's mostly been hitting for power, and that is not something I expect Hae-Sung Kim to do. His plate discipline metrics were not very good at AAA, 25% strikeout rate. Zone contact rate was, I think, like 70% or something. It was something pretty alarming.
No, it's 85.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, what I see then.
According to Statcast.
Maybe it was his overall contact rate was low then. But the average exit velocity, 87 miles per hour, the max 106.
Yeah.
Hard hit rate, 30%. I don't think the power. I think he's a slap hitter right now at this point in his career, and I don't know how much he's going to play. So that's, I think, even in a 12-team roto league, I'm not running out.
No, not that depth, like a deeper league.
Yeah.
3 pitchers who left early on Sunday. Shota Imanaga with a left hamstring strain, Freddie Peralta with groin soreness, and Tanner Bybee with cramping in both of his legs. What are you guys doing with Imanaga, Peralta, and Tanner Bybee this week?
Imanaga, I don't know. Maybe he misses the IL, but I would be surprised if he didn't go on the IL. Even as a pitcher, hamstring injuries. You should just assume hamstring injuries will lead to IL stints.
Peralta, I think I'd start. Bybee, I might. Like, Bybee's injury doesn't seem like a big deal, but he's also been pretty bad for the most part, and he's going against the Phillies this week. And even if he gets pushed back 2 days, that's enough that he doesn't make a start at all this week. So, with Bybee, I think it's worth pointing out, just to be consistent with my analysis on Corbin Burns and expressing genuine concerns over him. Bybee's swinging strike rate has kind of plummeted this year.
Yep.
And he only had 3 whiffs in this latest start at Toronto. I believe he had 4 whiffs 2 starts before that. These aren't strikeouts. These are whiffs.
Yeah.
3 and 4 for a whole start. And
he's starting his sinker more. I think he's starting his cutter more as well. And it all feels like he's finding himself.
It kind of looks like, if I'm reading the image right on StatCast, and it's on Baseball Savant, it's not something I worked with a lot. So maybe I don't have a good read on it yet, but it kind of looks like his arm has dropped. His arm angle has dropped. And that's something he could fix, but you could understand why he's not the same pitcher right now because of it. Mm-hmm. Does that look right, Chris?
Not at what I'm looking at, but the movement profiles don't look the same. So I think either way, like maybe he just doesn't look right now. Yeah. The comp I was going to make was also to Corbin Burns, just in that maybe this is just an excuse to not start them. Like maybe it's kind of a bonus for you that like you have an excuse not to start these guys.
Blake Snell is expected to resume playing catch this week. He recently had his throwing program shut down after experiencing a setback with his left shoulder. Randy Arozarena left early on Sunday due to, quote, a little bit of a hamstring thing, per manager Dan Wilson. They said it's nothing serious. I don't know. Pay attention on Monday. I would say maybe plan to have a replacement for Arozarena. Red Sox placed Walker Buehler on the IL due to right shoulder inflammation. Hunter Dobbins will take his spot for now. Josh Lowe has been dealing with back spasms over the past couple days and hasn't been playing in rehab games as a result. Zach Eflin began a rehab assignment on Sunday, and it sounds like he could return later this week. The Orioles have an open spot in their rotation, but I don't think we should chance that, right? Zach Eflin?
I would prefer not to, yeah.
Yep. Speaking of the Orioles, Grayson Rodriguez will get more imaging done in a few weeks and could be cleared to resume throwing at that time. He's been dealing with shoulder, elbow, and lat injuries to his right arm this season. AJ Smith-Shawver will make his next scheduled start Monday against the Reds, which makes him a 2-start pitcher. So he gets the Reds and at the Pirates this week. Scott, any interest in AJ Smith-Shawver, 2-star pitcher?
Well, he didn't make the 10 sleeper pitchers for this upcoming week, but his best start was his most recent one in Colorado when he left with after taking the ball off the elbow. So hopefully that will, obviously it was against the Rockies, and now he's coming back from a bruised elbow. But hopefully that was the start of him maybe putting things together, because the stuff certainly appears to be there for AJ Smith-Shawver. I would not be eager to start him, though, even with the 2.
Anthony Volpe felt a pop in his left shoulder on Saturday on a diving defensive play. X-rays came back negative, but he was out of the lineup Sunday. He was not available at all, like not even as a pinch hitter throughout the game. He's not a pivotal player, but in like a deeper roto league, would you start Volpe this week or look for a replacement?
I'd try to start somebody else, but that's the juice may not be worth the squeeze when you're scouring the waiver wire for shortstop replacements, and you may just want to cross your fingers and hope he plays most of the week.
This one stinks, as Austin Hayes was placed in the IL with a left hamstring strain retroactive to April 29th. Obviously, he was crushing it, off to a great start in his Reds career, but he's on the shelf for now. Yuri Perez said that the plan is for him to make a total of 8 rehab starts as he recovers from Tommy John. He's already made 2, so that looks like early June, assuming there are no setbacks. Other players who went on the IL this weekend, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Otto Lopez, and Ryan Feltner. Let's take our final break, and when we return, we'll get into the rest of this weekend's action right after this.
This is what you were made for.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today, and taking a look at the waiver wire hitters from the weekend. Tyler Stevenson returned and performed well. 2 hits on Friday, hit a home run on Sunday last year, hit 258, 19 home runs. You'll take that at the catcher position. 56% rostered. Would you guys take Tyler Stevenson over Agustin Ramirez, who all of a sudden is not the best hitter of all time?
All right, so I've seen some Agustin Ramirez, we fell for it again, and this is not a Kyron Paris situation because
I think he's good.
Agustin Ramirez is a legit prospect. Kyron Paris came out of nowhere. And 2, Kyron Paris, things started falling apart because he was striking out 45% of the time. Agustin Ramirez, I think he's 1 for his last 24 after today. And his strikeout rate is 20% in that stretch. So doesn't actually seem to be much of a concern there. I'm sticking with Ramirez. I think Stevenson is fine, but he's just fine. And you're hoping Ramirez can be more than fine.
Would you take Stevenson over Sean Murphy?
No.
Would you take
same rationale
over Carson Kelly?
Yes, because Carson Kelly, I think once he turns back into a pumpkin, he will be probably a 40% share guy in terms of playing time.
Would you take him over any of Keibert Ruiz, Hunter Goodman, or Austin Wells?
I forget who we're talking about.
Tyler
Stevenson. Okay. I'll take him over Wells. And who was the second name you mentioned?
Ruiz and Goodman.
Yeah, I'd prefer him to Ruiz. He's not Goodman.
I think Stevenson's likeliest outcome is he's better than Goodman, but I'm okay chasing the upside with Goodman. Can I mention one catcher who's even more low rostered who I would drop Keibert Ruiz for?
Who's that?
And I know Scott hates this guy.
Uh-oh.
Edgar Quero is good. And he is playing. He has started, I think, 4 games at DH already. A not insignificant amount of DH starts, if I'm correct. Great numbers at AAA. He's making a lot of contact. I think Edgar Quero
numbers at AAA
is good.
Not a lot of power.
Good.
I think Keibert Ruiz is a more proven version of Edgar Quero.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
Anything.
He could even be Keibert Ruiz.
Exactly.
I think
jinx.
2 catcher leagues for sure. I would look for Quero. I don't think I would take him over any of the names that we just talked about, though. For the other outfielders, Kyle Stowers, we already spoke about. He has been awesome. Max Kepler is picking things up. He homered on both Friday and Saturday. Last 7 games, he's hitting .320 with 4 home runs. Ryan O'Hearn, last 7 games for him, hitting .348 with 4 homers. And what year is it? Because Javier Baez, that's right, Javier Baez, he is doing some things. He homered in 3 straight games from Wednesday through Friday. He is batting over 300. He's got 3 homers, 1 steal, and 829 OPS. He's swinging less. He's chasing less. Swinging strike rate is down. His quality of contact is also terrible. But what do you guys think of these names as 5 outfielder leagues? Kepler, O'Hearn, and Javier Baez.
Dude, Javier Baez looks awesome in center field. It's not surprising because he's that kind of player, but he's been really fun to watch playing center field. And I don't think there's anything here offensively, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe he's rediscovered something. The underlying stuff doesn't really buy it.
Yeah.
And I don't either. I think Kepler is legitimately good.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear Max Kepler is what we hoped Michael Conforto would be this year.
I haven't ruled out Conforto being that also, but Kepler was somebody who I know I was hyping up as spring training went on, and then I had him on the first few sleeper hitters list for the first few weeks, and he didn't do anything. And I stopped putting him on the sleeper hitters list, and now he's finally living up to it. Yeah, I like Kepler for 5 outfielder leagues. O'Hearn, of course, has the big platoon issue, but he's been insanely productive so far. I didn't realize his strikeout rate dropped to 14% last year, and that's continued this year. That's like half of what it was in his Royals days, Ryan O'Hearn. So I like both of them fine for 5 outfielder leagues. Baez, after that good start Andrew Heaney had with the 9 strikeouts, I said it was the fakest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to say that about Baez too. Fakest thing I've ever seen. Don't. I saw people throwing tons of fab dollars at him. Like, you're going to be sad with where that ends up.
How about the Tigers, by the way, man? They are playing good ball this season. They're off to a great start as a team. A util type player, Josh Smith, had himself a nice weekend. He homered on Friday. He had 4 hits on Sunday. If you're looking for him on CBS, that's Josh H. Smith on CBS. 53% rostered. Should that be higher? Does that sound about right?
Is he still going to play with Seager back?
He played this weekend, and Seager returned on Saturday.
Seager was DHing. I mean, they'll find opportunities to get Smith in the lineup. I would put him behind.
Smith led off each game this weekend too.
I would put him behind Kepler and O'Hearn in terms of my interest.
All right. Waiver wire pitchers. What did we think of Gunnar Hoagland's debut for the A's? He pitched very well against the Marlins. 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 11 whiffs on 81 pitches here. 24% rostered. Chris, what'd you think of Gunnar Hoagland?
That's pretty impressive. Not a superstar. There's a little Tyler Mahle here, where really good fastball shape.
20
pretty
inches
mediocre,
of induced vertical break.
Yeah, pretty mediocre velocity. So he probably really needs to be precise with it. And if he keeps it up in the zone, he's got a good changeup as well. I think there could be something here. The problem is the breaking balls, I don't know, it's 1 start. So they weren't impressive for sure. It didn't seem to have a good feel for them. So, if the fastball and or changeup aren't working, things could get pretty ugly pretty quickly for Hoagland. But I do think he's worth rostering. Yeah, I think he's worth adding in 12-team roto leagues. Yeah, we can chase some upside there.
So waivers, pretty much all of my leagues are set up to just have 1 weekly run of fab, really, not even waivers, all running Sunday night, just for ease of managing all the different teams I'm on. Every league where Hoagland was available, Hoagland, right? Every league where Hoagland was available, I put in a bid for him. It was like
How much?
$0.
Okay, so you
$1.
didn't go hog wild?
Well, in the 15 team, were you just saying that to make the joke, or were you honestly?
I mean, you can answer it.
In the 15 teamers, it was more like 1 or like 2% of the budget, but most of the times it was just 0 in case all my other bids collapsed. I was interested enough that I could find somebody to drop for him if my more interesting bids didn't go through, is the point. And when he got called up, I pointed out he just had a 10% swinging strike rate at AAA, and 1 good start in the majors doesn't change that. I mean, that's pretty unimpressive, particularly against AAA hitters. But at least this first start, the fastball played really well. And if the control is good enough, I could see it working.
All right, let's continue on with other waiver wire pitchers. And all 4 of these pitched well. Grant Holmes, Jameson Taillon, Jose Soriano, JP Sears. Scott, how are you ranking that group? Sears, Soriano, Taillon, and Grant Holmes.
That was an interesting start for Holmes, wasn't it? Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. 15 swinging strikes, 9 Ks. The slider was sliding.
Cutter was
racking up whiffs against that Dodgers lineup. It was his most impressive start of the year. And so I think if you haven't dropped Grant Holmes yet, it's enough reason to hold on. And I think he's clearly more interesting than these others. The second most interesting is Jose Soriano, who really expanded his arsenal in this one. It was and obviously got better results than he's gotten recently. So he was mostly just sinker. I think it was last year sinker splitter. It was pretty much just two pitches.
Sinker
curveball. Okay, so he's expanded to have a splitter and a four seamer, and just looked like a more complete pitcher in this start. He throws hard. He gets a ton of ground balls. I don't think Jose Soriano has superstar potential, but I think he has, number 6, number 7 type starter in fantasy potential, which is enough to keep him rostered in most leagues. Only 54% rostered. I think it should be higher than that.
All right. Again, that was Jose Soriano. Next group includes Nick Martinez, Tomoyuki Sugano, Brian Bayo, and Ben Brown. Chris, how do you rank this group? Brown, Bayo, Sugano, and Nick Martinez.
I don't like these guys very much at all. I think I would go Bayo, Sugano, Martinez, Brown, but that might just be league dependent because Martinez is a spark. Sugano's now had 3 quite good starts in a row. I don't really think there's much here at all.
The effectiveness of all the whiffs we saw on the splitter in his previous start, they went away. And remember that last start, he also led with the sweeper, which was up like 2 miles per hour. That went away too. Yeah. He just kind of reverted to what he'd been doing in previous starts, Sugano. So I'm back. I'm glad I didn't overreact the other way after the one good start for Sugano, because I'm back off of it. I will say, though, if I may, for Nick Martinez, this was his best start by a long shot. It was a second straight quality start, and so maybe by the top line result, it looks similar to the previous one. But he threw 65% of his pitches for strikes, walked nobody, and his changeup was getting whiffs like we saw during that stretch last year when he was so effective. It got 7 whiffs, 44% whiff rate in this one. That was very similar to his season-long whiff rate on the changeup last year. So it's just one start for Nick Martinez. But in those deeper leagues where the waiver wire is just barren for starting pitching, I think it's reason to resist dropping Nick Martinez too, if you hadn't already. And if you had, maybe even pick him back up again, because there's not much interesting out there. The kind of leagues where like Gunnar Hoagland is clearly the best pitcher available on waivers, I think Nick Martinez is worth a second look.
Some names in deeper leagues: Zach Littell, Stephen Kolek, Lance McCullers Jr., and Michael McGreevy. They all pitched well this weekend. Deep league names. Does anyone stand out here for you guys?
No, I mean, I don't think there's that much different separating like Nick Martinez and Tomoyuki Sugano from Zach Littell. I think they're all fairly similar, like command and control guys. When they're commanding it well, they can get away with it, but the stuff's not good enough. Kolek, I did a double take at first. I thought this was that guy the Marlins drafted like 10 years ago. Different Kolek. This one, not very good. That's all I have to add. It was good to see Lance McCullers out there.
First start since 2022.
Yeah, he's somehow only 31 years old. I think it's extremely unlikely he makes any kind of impact. Like, I added him in one league just to see, but I don't think there's any upside there, so it's fine to drop him.
Let me ask you about some of these names on the Drop-O-Meter. Jack Leiter has struggled in 2 starts since returning from the IL, and I just kind of wonder if this IL stint like messed up the flow that he was in, because looked good to start the season, still 72% rostered. Where is Jack Leiter on the Drop-O-Meter?
Try not to drop him. I think the talent's there, the upside we've seen. I'd hope that I have someone less interesting than Jack Leiter to drop, but look, all of a sudden the overall numbers look pretty bad. Strikeout rates under 8 per 9. It's not at all a guarantee that he's useful moving forward. I still think I'd rather, even drop someone like Sugano, who's running hot right now. I'd rather take the flyer on Leiter just in case this is
Leiter.
He can turn things around.
Leiter or Jose Soriano?
I think Leiter's upside's a little higher, so it probably depends on the state of the rest of my pitching staff. Like, if I don't think I need a starter in the next week or two, I'd rather have Leiter and just see. Mm-hmm. But Soriano is more likely to give us a 3.80 ERA.
And we haven't mentioned the name because he didn't pitch this weekend, but Tony Gonsolin, clearly the hottest pitcher on the waiver wire where he still is. And we'd all take Gonsolin over Leiter, I assume.
Yeah. I'd take him over Hoagland. If Grant Holmes and Tony Gonsolin were both available, that'd be an interesting one.
That would be interesting.
I think Holmes has more strikeout upside. His command's pretty bad. And his fastball's not great. I don't know if I would pull the trigger on dropping Holmes for Gonsolin. If both were available, I might take Gonsolin, though.
It's close.
Yeah, that is close. I might take Gonsolin too if it didn't cost me like a bunch of fab dollars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about Gavin Williams on the drop-o-meter? I mean, here we are again, 4 innings, 2 runs, 5 walks, 9 strikeouts. Whiffs, not a problem. Getting a ton of whiffs this season, but cannot throw strikes, getting hit hard. It's a 5.06 ERA, 175 whip, 78% rostered. Where is Gavin Williams on the drop-o-meter?
I saw one of the stuff accounts do their daily roundup, and it was it's always funny when you know the results already, because then it's Gavin Williams had the best stuff plus of the day, and it's he had a 3.00 whip. That kind of sums up the Gavin Williams experience right now. You can see it working out.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason to believe it's going to.
Well, 2 of his last 3 starts, he's gotten a ton of whiffs.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't getting whiffs before then. He was just bad all the way around. So I do think he's trending the right way. Is it fast enough? Is the end point going to be promising enough to make him worth the wait? I'm not totally opposed to dropping Gavin Williams. I'd do it for Tony Gonsolin, for instance.
Would you do it for Gunnar Hoagland?
No, I'm hesitant to do it if it's not somebody that, if it's just like a lark like that, I don't really think there's much here, but I'll take a flyer on it just in case. I'm not going to drop Gavin Williams for that, because I think Gavin Williams is still a better version of that.
Yeah,
than like a Gunnar Hoagland is.
Man, the sweeper is the only thing working for him at all right now. He's just getting crushed when he throws anything else, including, the cutter. It's a very small sample size. That's the one thing he's started mixing back in over the last couple of starts. I think he should throw the cutter more, because he doesn't really have anything to neutralize lefties. That's also part of the problem with his approach, and so maybe throwing the cutter more could help him unlock something there.
2 other names. I think we can drop both of these guys, Andrew Heaney and Bowden Francis.
See you later.
Definitely. I'm going to say definitely both, but especially Bowden Francis. There's nothing to redeem him there.
I think it's fine to hang on to him in a head-to-head points league. I think it's also perfectly fine to drop him.
All right, what's going on with these starting pitchers? Let's kind of move through this here as quick as we possibly can, because they are some interesting starting pitchers. But Dylan Cease struggled again, this time at the Pirates of all teams. 4 innings, 2 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. It's a 5.61 ERA, 160 whip, and he's at the Yankees this week. So, A, what's going on with Dylan Cease? B, do you start him this week?
This is one where I don't you did the against the Pirates of all teams, and yeah, you should pitch better against the Pirates. I don't know if matchups matter for Dylan Cease. It's just does he have it or doesn't he? And right now he doesn't. And so, given the fact that it is a tough matchup against the Yankees, they have been the best offense in baseball so far, I believe. I'm fine sitting him this week. I don't think you want to do anything else. I think that's the only thing you can do is sit Dylan Cease. And if he goes out and has 7 innings of 11 strikeout ball, I don't think any of us would be even the slightest bit surprised. And you just start him next week if he does that.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's just, you got to wait. You got to let Dylan Cease play out. He's almost become Blake Snell-like in that way.
Yeah. What about Framber Valdez, who had a bad start against the White Sox? Is it another one where, all right, good matchup. We're hoping it works out here. 5 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, 6 strikeouts. He's got a 4.39 ERA, 127 whip. Just hasn't been sharp. Got off to a slow start last year as well. Do you guys start Framber Valdez home against the Reds this week?
I think so. I don't think he's been bad enough to steer me away from him.
His velocity was down quite a bit in this start too, 2.4 miles per hour on each of the sinker and curve. It was also 49 degrees in Chicago that night.
Yeah, there were some cold games this weekend.
Yep. Max Meyer, rough outing up against the Athletics. 5 innings, 10 hits, 5 runs, 1 walk, 0 strikeouts. That's like 2 starts after a 14 strikeout performance here. He gave up 3 homers in this one, 12 hard hits allowed. So there have been some inconsistencies recently. On the whole, I mean, we still have gotten some great starts from Max Meyer, but
did we get Jared Jones?
Do we actually get the good starts from Max Meyer, or did we get only the bad starts? Because that's when we trusted him enough to start him. I feel worse about this than anything I've said about Pete Crow-Armstrong, because just he has the 14 strikeout effort, and then immediately after that, his 2 worst starts of the season by far. And what's happened during these 2 worst starts is his slider usage has gone way down. It had been about 50% when he was dominating. Then it went to 33% 2 starts ago, just 22% this time. And maybe there's a good reason why he's fading the slider. Maybe
it got crushed.
Yeah. So maybe he's like lost the feel for it or whatever. But like he needs it. He needs it to, when he has it, he can dominate. And so maybe you just bench Meyer for now until you see him get it back. But I'm not eager to drop him because we've seen what he can do when he does have that slider.
Yeah, 7 balls in play on the slider. In this one, only 1 whiff. So already there's problems. 97 mile per hour average exit velocity on the slider in this one. The movement profile looks mostly the same, so I think it's probably just like a command thing. His fastball hasn't been quite as good as well, although the velocity was back in this one, thankfully, after it had been down in the previous start. I'm not too concerned, but he gets the White Sox this week.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, you can't bench him for that. You just gotta hope he turns it around this week.
Yeah. I will say on the Luis Robert front, the Marlins have been so bad at stopping base runners this season. So might be a good week for Luis Robert in your roto leagues.
More steals coming for Luis Robert. All right. Nick Lodolo's next up. He got hit hard up against the Nationals. 5 1/3, 10 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned, 14 hard hits allowed against Nick Lodolo, he's just been a mixed bag. It's like 3 bad starts, 1 solid start, 3 very good starts for him. The overall numbers look okay, but it's been frustrating, and he's at the Braves this week. What do you guys think on Lodolo?
He's been the most perplexing pitcher because not only has the performance gone up and down, the curveball, some days it gets tons of whiffs, some days it gets none at all, and the movement profile doesn't seem to change with that. So I don't really know what's going on with his curveball, and his curveball is kind of his whole thing. Like Nick Lodolo is synonymous with Nick Lodolo's curveball, and so that doesn't put my mind at ease to know that it's just been very hard to read as an analyst to read this year. So I think I'd prefer to sit him if I have the options. But yeah, I don't really have a good read on how this plays out. I wouldn't say I have a ton of confidence in Nick Lodolo going forward. I just know you have to hang on to him.
His curveball's been off all year. He's been getting like 5 less inches of horizontal break.
But some days it gets a ton of whiffs.
Some that's true.
Been like 3 starts recently where it has.
But the movement profile's been off, and for me, even when it's been working, it just maybe it can work, but it hasn't worked consistently enough for me to buy in. So I'm pretty pessimistic on Nick Lodolo, and I was probably the highest of anyone on him coming in, but he just has not had the feel for that pitch. And kind of somewhat similar with our next guy. I feel like his best pitch has not really been working for him, has it? Spencer Schwellenbach, a rough start against the Dodgers this weekend. 3 2/3, 6 runs allowed. Still had 14 whiffs. Last 4 starts, a 7.17 ERA, 155 WHIP. And he has struggled with lefties this year. It's a 272 batting average, 809 OPS against. Struggled a little bit against lefties last season as well.
Where are we at on Spencer Schwellenbach?
What would you say is his best pitch?
So I think I had read the wrong. I thought his splitter had been struggling. It hasn't been as good as it was last season, but it's not. Doesn't seem like that's the main issue.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really see anything to worry about here. I think this is because there are a lot of I told you so's going on with Spencer Schwellenbach right now. And that was one of the things that inspired my frustration with, okay, why are we making broad generalizations this early in the season, especially since this was just his second non-quality start of the year. And he hasn't been as sharp as last few outings. I'm not denying that, but like, that's how baseball seasons go.
Yeah. It's easy to forget in the moment, especially if you happen to be in one of the ebbs or one of the waxing moments rather than one of the waning moments or whatever.
I mean, he has for the year, 3.92 ERA, 111 whip, 14% swinging strike rate, 1.5 walks per nine. Like, this just doesn't seem like anybody should, any Schwellenbach deniers should be taking a victory lap right now. Like, yeah, he had a bad start. He's had 2 bad starts in his last 4.
His curveball's been pretty bad. It's getting hit really hard.
5 other pitches.
No, well, it's not just the cutter's also getting hit really hard, and the 4-seamer.
And his 4-seam, yeah.
The slider and splitter have been great. Whiff rate down on the splitter, but it was a small sample size, so a 46% whiff rate may have just not been sustainable.
But what do you honestly think is going to happen? I mean, we could get into the minutia. I don't think it's worth getting into the minutia, though.
I was maybe a little more skeptical on Schwellenbach being like a true top 12 type starting pitcher.
Who has him? Whoever.
Well, nobody ranked him that way, but that was the hope was that he was going to break out and become that. And I was less bought in on the immediate upside, but it's mostly not finishing hitters off, it seems. Because like you said, the swinging strike rate, close to 15%, that's really good. It's just either he's not getting into 2 strike counts often enough, or he's not putting hitters away, which sounds like it's a
But do you think that's a permanent affliction?
No, I just like him and Garrett Crochet have the smallest sample sizes of high level pitching at any level of any pitcher in the top 50. Like Schwellenbach and Crochet, it's nothing before last season. It's just what and they were incredible last season.
You don't see a lot of 15% swinging strike. I can't think of a single one who doesn't.
I don't think there's anything actionable about it.
Good.
I just think there's a chance that Schwellenbach doesn't become an ace.
Okay, yeah, that's
all.
That's fine. There's definitely a chance he doesn't become an ace, but I still think there's not going to be a point where you sincerely consider taking him out of your lineup.
I agree.
Have these starting pitchers taken another step forward this season? We mentioned Hunter Greene earlier. Obviously, we can't go too in depth on all these names, but Hunter Greene, Yamamoto, Brian Wu, Logan Webb, Reese Olson, those are the 5 I have written down here that all on paper look like they might be taking the next step. What do you guys think about Greene, Yamamoto, Wu, Webb, and Reese Olson?
Yeah, we've kind of already talked about it with Greene. Yamamoto is in my top 10 now. So I'm basically viewing him as an ace.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest. He's just healthy.
He's healthy, and he's getting it doesn't look like the Dodgers are intensely managing his workload like they were for some parts of last season. I think Wu's gone 6+ every start but 1. So whatever workload concerns might have existed for him appear to be out the window as well.
I love watching him pitch. He is so much fun. I'm a Wu girl.
Webb, we've talked about Webb a lot. Yeah, Olson, I really like what Olson's been doing. I mean, it's kind of the same thing he's always been doing. It's just kind of playing out like we always dreamed it would. Like, the fastball's not very good, but his His changeup and his slider are both so good. I think one has a 45% whiff rate and one has 50% whiff rate, and
they weren't far off last year either.
And he doesn't throw his fastball that much relative to most pitchers.
It's just getting to 2 strikes is a chore sometimes. That's the only problem with Reese Olson. I think that's why. Has he gone 6 full yet? I feel like it's been a lot of like 5 1/3.
He had a 7 inning outing.
Although
I feel like it's been just a lot of just short of a quality starts for him.
I've been noticing a lot of pitchers who we think of as really good struggling to go 6 innings this year. That's been Jack Flaherty, I think, has gone 6 innings just once.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has.
Maybe he hasn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think Olson's good. Also with a 53% ground ball rate, which is very high. So even when he's not getting strikeouts, he's getting good outs. So yeah, Olson trending up.
I think he's throwing that sinker more, which helps in a lot of ways, mostly because the 4-seamer is his worst pitch. And then I'll just say, I think this might be the best Logan Webb we've ever seen. I think the struggles that he had with the changeup last year, forcing him to find that cutter that he introduced in August, rely more on the sweeper. I think it's all just kind of, he had to adapt, and he did a really good job doing it. So I'm really impressed with what we've seen from Logan Webb so far.
Wanted to mention some hitters who are picking things up. Spencer Steer, last 11 games, hitting .326 with 2 home runs, 2 steals, and OPS over 900. Spoke about Luis Robert already. Vinny Pasquantino, Vinny P.
Baby.
Homered on Saturday and Sunday. He has 4 home runs in his past 8 games. And Jackson Holliday, 3 for 4 with a double dong on Sunday and hitting .400 over his last 7 games. Anything you'd like to add on Steer, Vinny P, or Jackson Holliday?
I think Steer probably got dropped in too many leagues.
Still 81% rostered.
He's pretty marginal in points, but I did see him out there in one roto league. I will be looking to add him. Scott, were you the one who dropped him in that league?
No, I know what roto league it is.
We all do. We're all trying to add him.
Okay. All right.
Maybe I need to up my bid.
Yeah, maybe I need to up that bid. I put a low dollar bid on.
I'm just kidding.
We're going to accidentally bid Spencer Steer to like $40.
I was just checking to see if that went through already.
I do not have $40 left in that league. So if you
I do.
Okay, you could get him for $40.
It's not going to be $40.
Totally kidding. Yeah, not adding him anywhere. Some leftovers for the pitchers: Tarek Skubal, Joe Ryan, Robbie Ray, Max Fried. All big starts this weekend. Anything that stood out for those 4? Fried, Robbie Ray, Joe Ryan, Tarek Skubal.
So Robbie Ray is obviously a much more decorated and celebrated pitcher than Gavin Williams, but like, this is what you're hoping happens with Gavin Williams, right? Is that he just goes from looking completely lost and can't find the strike zone to just locking in and immediately, I think it's 16 strikeouts to 3 walks over the past 2 starts. That's what you're hoping for with Gavin Williams. And actually, I think that upside's there. It's just that we've seen it many times from Robbie Ray, and we've never seen it from Gavin Williams at the major league level. So that's why I'm more confident in Robbie Ray moving forward than Gavin Williams, which I hope goes without saying.
What's weird about, I talked about how something's going to change for Max Fried. Like, obviously he's not going to sustain a 101 ERA. Like, I'm sorry, Yankees fans. It's going to be over 3 in all likelihood, which will still make him a really good pitcher.
Over 3 would actually be like one of Max Fried's worst seasons ever.
Is that right?
He's like pretty consistently been a sub 3 ERA guy, hasn't he?
He's had
only two full seasons.
2 full seasons with an ERA below 3. Okay, so maybe it'll be between 2.5 and 3.25. Maybe it'll be below 3, but not by much. It's weird that he's done this with his lowest strikeout rate and his lowest swinging strike rate and his lowest ground ball rate. Well, at least not the lowest ground ball rate ever, but one of his lower ground ball rates. Like that's all kind of weird, right? That's all the more reason to think, okay, this is not the best version of Max Fried we've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Some other pitching leftovers: Kevin Gausman, Bailey Ober, and Aaron Nola. Anything to add on those 3? They all pitch well.
This is the first time Kevin Gausman has actually looked like the good version of Kevin Gausman. He had 9 whiffs with the splitter.
I think there was one other start where he got a lot of whiffs on the splitter, but I think it's only been 2 starts this year.
Yeah, it's been problematic, and it's made it hard to buy in. I need to see more than 1 start, especially since the movement profile still isn't where it was in the past. But his fastball's playing up. If the splitter is 90% as good as it was at his peak, that'll probably still play. But I'm pretty skeptical still.
All right, some hitting leftovers. Cal Raleigh continues to mash 2 home runs on Friday. He is up to 12, which leads all of baseball. Bo Bichette finally on the board, hit his first home run on Saturday, added another steal on Sunday. The Royals set a new franchise record with 7 home runs on Sunday, 2 for Michael Garcia, 1 of each for Bobby Witt Jr., Jonathan India, Vinny P., Michael Massey, and Luke Mailey. Geraldo Perdomo continues to impress, 4 for 5 with 2 steals on Sunday. Willie Adames, 3 for 5 with a double dong on Sunday. And Kerry Carpenter has 3 home runs in his past 6 games. And he is off to a very nice start this season as well.
By the way, Michael Garcia, late addition to the sleeper hitters for the upcoming week. And in fact, he's number 1 on the list now.
We might be giving him short shrift. He might be taking a step forward here.
Yeah.
He's elevating the ball a lot more. He's hitting it to the pull side, in the air more. These
harder.
are the power's always been there, raw power at least. So
better plate discipline.
Yeah, no, it's been an impressive start for Michael Garcia, and he still has a bunch of steals. He's attempted 12. He has 7.
He stole 3 just the other day.
Look, the Royals need to generate offense any way possible. I know they hit 7 home runs in this game, but that is not like them so far this season. So they've most of the time they have to run to help generate offense there. For the Yankees this weekend, bullpen updates. I should probably mention that's where we're going next. Bullpen updates for the Yankees on Friday. Devin Williams got the 8th inning with a 3-run lead. He struck out 1. Luke Weaver got the 9th and struck out 2 for his 3rd save. That is 3 straight scoreless outings for Devin Williams. For the Dodgers on Friday, Tanner Scott pitched in the 8th inning. It was Evan Phillips who picked up the save in the 9th, and he is only 8% rostered. Deeper leagues, could Evan Phillips pick up saves the way that Blake Trinan was earlier this season? Kind of feel like maybe.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe.
Yep.
But he's not going to overtake Scott.
No. But as a, 3rd or 4th closer in a deep roto league, sure. I think you can maybe pick up a few saves along the way. For the Angels, on Friday, Kenley Jansen entered the game with a tied, and he got rocked. He gave up 6 runs, 3 homers, took his first loss, and then he bounced back on Saturday for his 7th save. For the Guardians this weekend, on Saturday, Clase picked up his 6th save, and then on Sunday, he picked up his 7th, so just kind of feels like he is back. For the Pirates on Saturday, David Bednar got the 9th inning with the game tied. He gave up a run on 1 hit, and it was just a crazy sequence from Fernando Tatis Jr., who hit a leadoff double, then stole 3rd, and he scored on a wild pitch that barely got away from the catcher. So
I will point out Dennis Santana returned to the team. He was on the bereavement list. He returned on Sunday. I think David Bednar is just the closer now, but I don't know if there have been. Did Bednar get? He had got 1 save with Santana active.
He did, but Santana was facing the top of the Dodgers lineup in the 8th,
so not clear yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the Giants on Saturday, Camilo Doval got the 7th inning with a 3-run lead, facing 9-1-2 in the Rockies lineup. He retired all 3. Ryan Walker then later picked up the save, his 6th of the season. For the Rangers on Saturday, I guess they didn't want to go to Luke Jackson after he blew the game on Wednesday. He got rocked in that one. Chris Martin got the 9th inning with the game tied, and he gave up a run on 2 hits. He took his 4th loss. So Rangers bullpen, it's been a little shaky lately, but I think it's still Luke Jackson for now. For the Marlins on Sunday with the game tied, Jesus Tinoco pitched a scoreless 7th. Calvin Fauché pitched a scoreless 8th. And it was Anthony Bender who then gave up a run on 2 hits in the 9th and took his 2nd loss. And for the D-backs on Sunday, Kevin Ginkel pitched in the 7th inning with a 2-run lead facing the heart of the Phillies lineup. Then it was Ryan Thompson in the 8th and Shelby Miller in the 9th, who gave up 2 runs. He took his 2nd blown save. Jalen Beeks eventually got the save in extra innings. But I don't know. Do you guys have a feel yet for the D-backs? Like Ginkel faced the heart of the lineup. I feel like he's been the highest leverage guy, and now Shelby Miller blew a save. So
I would be a little worried about Shelby Miller's job security coming off of this game if Kevin Ginkel hadn't also given up a run earlier in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shelby Miller has the advantage for now, but it's a very tenuous grasp on that role.
To stream or not to stream on Monday, we have Ben Kasparius, who is starting for the Dodgers. He is at the Marlins. We have AJ Smith-Shawver home against the Reds.
Real quick. Justin Martinez did get some good news with his shoulder scan over the weekend, so he may also not end up missing as much time as we feared with the Diamondbacks situation.
Ben Kasparius, AJ Smith-Shawver. We have don't want to use Roop against the Cubs. Shane Smith at the Royals. Griffin Canning at the D-backs, Severino versus the Mariners.
Mariners are not a good matchup.
No,
we gotta move past that one. Since they fired their hitting coach in August, they've been the best offense in baseball. It's still fine at T-Mobile because it's such a hard place to pitch, but you don't want the Mariners on the road.
That game is in Sacramento too.
Yeah, the bottom four spots in their lineup are dreadful.
That's fair, but they've still been scoring a lot of runs, so I would not be targeting them. There are some pitchers I like who don't have great matchups. I will go with, if I thought Kasparius was going to give us 5 innings, I would do it, but he hasn't gone more than 3.2 yet. I will probably go with Ortiz, AJ Smith-Shawver, and Shane Smith.
Yeah, Shane Smith's top of the list for me. I'd probably go Luis Severino second and Luis Ortiz third.
And then on Tuesday, we have Giolito home against the Rangers. Andrew Abbott is at the Braves. Colin Ray facing the Giants. Verlander at the Cubs. Liberatore facing the Pirates.
I might like Monday's options better.
Tyler Anderson home against the Blue Jays. Jeffrey Springs home against the Mariners.
Libby against the Pirates.
I'd go Anderson ahead of Liberatore.
Anderson is Blue Jays. I'll put him second.
Yeah.
I can't really come up with the third. Probably Verlander, but the Cubs obviously are a tough matchup.
Yeah, I'd go Giolito over Verlander.
I think so too, but I do like Liberatore and Tyler Anderson the most on Tuesday. We are going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.